Hello, everyone. My name is Christina Miracle Bailey. I am, well, a little personal information. I'm an only child. I've been here in the D.C. area for 3.5 years, and like Nancy said before, I work for the Congressional Research Service. How many are you familiar with that service branch? Okay, good. So a pretty good number of you. That's a good thing. That's a good thing to get to know our chambers of Congress. So I've been there for 3.5 years, and in that I work in a division called Government and Finance. There I answer questions for both the House and the Senate concerning, thank you, committee assignments. One of the things I will say how I found my job at CRS is I went through a grad recruit program. So I was recently out of grad school. I graduated from the University of North Texas in 2010, and then I actually was working in a volunteer library for the state of Georgia of domestic violence, and I was looking to catalog a book for the Library of Congress. And the computer froze up. So I was there doing the mouse thing, trying to hit the word catalog, and instead the arrow cursor hit careers. And thus, here we are 4 years later. That is a very, very true story. So that's what happened. And that's why Nancy, I guess she took away that point that you don't always find the jobs on USA Jobs. So that is a very valid point. CRS posts the job on their site, which is through the Library of Congress, and then you have a tab there for the Congressional Research Service, and then that's where the job was listed. As a grad recruit, the position lasted for 4 months. I say this because they liked me, and so they decided to keep me. They thought I was charming. Oh, imagine that. So they decided to keep me, and probationary period lasted a year, and then after that I am currently still there. So I'll say this to say, I say that to say this, not necessarily you just enter into a full-blown 40-hour work experience. Sometimes it will be a grad recruit program or other programs. They have a lot of residency programs to date that I've heard of if you want to do academia that allows you to get experience, and then if you want to move on or if you want to stay put, you can do that as well. So one of the things I wanted to kind of expound on or touch on too as well, besides my job experience, is I'm also the president of the DC Library Association. So here we focus on career development, and I kind of wanted to talk about the site. I know some things are a little blocked, if you can see a little bit. So we also touch on career development, and if you want to find more about our site, you definitely can visit us. What I do want to touch on is some of the programs that we have. I'll think it here. So as you can see, we have this program that we're doing now, but in our board meeting, which, you know, you definitely can come, but here we are. So one of the things, you're here today to find out about applying for, and I can discuss it a little bit so you can kind of see it. Applying for jobs. One of the things that is a very, very valid point is library salaries. So in the month of April, National Library Workers Day on April the 14th, on a Tuesday, from 6 to 8 at the main branch of DC, Martin Luther King Library, we're going to have a program. So our program is for National Library Workers Day is discussion on library salaries, and you definitely can visit the website DCLA.org to find out more information. We've invited guest speakers from the Department of Labor to come in and talk about library salaries, library techs, and library technicians and assistants as well. Their report actually is completed in March. At March the 25th is when they come out with the new data about what librarians are being paid currently here in the local area of DC versus the national area. So I think that's a good conversation to have once you find, when you will, everyone here, or a change of job, pace, or employment, to discuss salaries, wages, what you will be making, and even promotions. You know, being in a profession, you want to succeed and you want to be promoted, and you rightfully so. You work very hard for that. So we're going to have that discussion. We also have a panelist listed there that work with the American Library Association to talk about salaries as well, and about the report that they produce every year. So we're looking very forward to this program here. And then beyond that, on April the 23rd, we also have a program here as well. I don't think I can, if I can show it here. Let's see, let's pull up our calendar. It is April the 23rd, and let's see if it'll allow me to do, sorry about all the things in here. allow me to put it up. If it will. Anyway, if not, I know what the program is, so I can definitely go from there. I'll go back to the main page. So on April the 23rd, we also have a program, where do you see yourself in 5 years? That is a very, very valid question. You know, in the interview process, you get the question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I know me personally, I was stumped. So, you know, like, okay, what do you want me to say? You know, it's like, you want me to say, you see myself here in 5 years? What do you want me to say? So we have a program here that will expound on expounding your skills and being promoted moving forward once you get that job, because all of us are in this room are very bright, intelligent people, and so getting the job is not a doubt in my mind that you will have the job that you seek. But also when you get there, knowing or having tips, important information to see or moving forward about what you want to do if you want to stay in the library profession. That's some of the topics that we're going to talk about. You know, being a librarian, we've discovered that a lot of job sets and job skills are transferable to other things. You know, we do a lot. We're not just the librarian anymore. There's a lot of things that comes with our job description and our career postings. So with that, that is pretty much in a nutshell. So I'm going to pass it off to Nancy. You want to take it next? So thanks.
So as I said, I'm Katie Rapp. I'm a reference librarian at NIST, and I have a handout for you guys that and if there's not enough copies, I have it on PDF on my online portfolio. So I'm a 2013 graduate of University of Maryland High School, and I have a slideshow that I'm going to be showing that has some good information, but I'm really going to be talking about my personal job search journey, which doesn't quite follow the linear path of a PowerPoint. So, okay. Is it this one? Okay. Okay, so yeah, I graduated in 2013, and throughout the time, so the big picture is that I was networking all the way through graduate school and trying to meet as many people as I could, and I was able to get the first job that I applied for at my first choice of employment. So I want to share what I did. So I had stayed home with my kids for quite a few years, and I decided I wanted to get back and start a new career, and I thought I had done all my research. So I had decided on special libraries, had applied to University of Maryland, got into the iSchool, and I was crushed the night of my orientation because I went there and they told us about what the job market was like, and that people were taking 2 years to get jobs, and there were 200 applicants for jobs. And I went home and I was like, what did I do, you know? So this is a true story. I went home and I Googled NIST library job, and there was a hit. There was a job at NIST library, and it came up on the Careers in Federal Libraries website. So I learned this was like the magic Googling of my life. I learned that there was a NIST library, which I hadn't been sure of before. I just had a vague idea that there must be federal libraries out there, as big agencies. I live in Gaithersburg. I thought, certainly NIST has a library. So that's why I Googled that. So I learned that there was a library at NIST, that they were hiring, which I thought was a good sign, and that there was this website called Careers in Federal Libraries that had listings of all these other federal libraries that I could learn about. So this was a fantastic resource. I immediately joined that Google group. This was when my networking started. I joined the Google group. Nancy Faget is the moderator. She emailed me back. We emailed back and forth. I told her I was just starting library school, that I was going to take my classes at Shady Grove campus, and she said, she offered herself as a resource, said they do resume reviews, and she said I'd be happy to come out and talk to students at Shady Grove about careers in federal libraries. So I remembered that. A year, or maybe more than a year later, when I was volunteering for the SLA student group, I contacted Nancy and asked her to come speak, and we worked together to organize a panel session at Shady Grove. So I've stayed in contact with Nancy all through, and she's been a wonderful resource to me. So this was the start of my networking that first night, that first night of orientation. So back to that Googling session. So there was this post about a job at NIST Library. Our response to that posting on careers in federal libraries was from a librarian at NIST Library saying this is a great place to work. I encourage everybody to apply for it who's interested, and she gave her contact information for anybody with questions. Now, I was just starting library school, so I wasn't ready to apply for this job, but I emailed her. And I said, I told her what I just said. I'm just starting library school, and I am not ready to apply for this, but I'm interested in this library. Can you give me more information? So this started a networking relationship with her and with other librarians at NIST. She invited me to come in for a tour. I spent 3 hours there. I met all the librarians on staff. I learned all about their programs. It was a great experience. And I stayed in contact with her, not annoying her or bugging her, but while I was in library school, I would contact her now and then for advice or about classes, or if I had a project. I know I took a project management class, and I contacted her and did a case study about a project team they had at NIST Library. So I stayed on her radar. And I had met the other staff at NIST Library, so I stayed on their radar. While I was volunteering as a student with the student ALA group and SLA group, I coordinated people coming into classes. We had NIST librarians come in and talk to one of my classes about metadata. I had another group come in and talk to students about what I wish I'd learned in library school. So I stayed in contact with people. I was on their radar. When I graduated, they knew that I graduated, and a contract position opened. They emailed me. I applied for it. I got the contract. And then I was in a position doing the job for the federal job when the federal job opened up. So I was in the perfect position to apply for the federal job, which I got. And I've been a federal librarian for a year now. So, and the other thing I wanted to mention, back with Nancy that night of the magic Googling session, so I did stay in contact with Nancy. Another thing that came of that relationship was that I would contact her now and then for advice. I needed to do a field study while I was a student, and I had trouble finding a field study location. So I thought, oh, I'll just email Nancy and see if she has any ideas for me. So she emailed me back like 1 minute later saying, how about for me, a virtual internship? So I did a virtual internship via telework for Nancy Faget, which worked out really well for both of us. I had trouble, I have the kids, and I have trouble commuting to things, so it worked out really well. So that's another option to think about. If getting to internships is difficult, you can ask about doing it via telework. And that's true of a lot of the volunteer work for associations too. A lot of it can be done via emails and Google Hangout and things like that. You don't have to be there at committee meetings all the time. So anyway, I'm happy to be a resource for you guys if anybody has questions. These slides that I've been going through give some tips about being active professionally, getting out there. Don't just join professional organizations, especially when you're a student. You can get out there. You can really take on some leadership roles in the student groups. Katie and I did that. And kind of hone the activities that you do to the libraries that you're interested in and make it work for you. So I know I organized a lot of tours of libraries that I was personally interested in for the other students at University of Maryland, so it worked for me. Katie probably did things like that too. So this is my contact information. Feel free to contact me. I have, or this isn't it, but it's coming up on one of the slides. And feel free to contact me anytime. I have an online portfolio. I have the slides on my SlideShare and the handout on my portfolio. So you can tell them it was okay. I did a project where I did an environmental scan of design features in scientific literature because they were looking at updating the design of their publications at ARL, and the presentation that I put together resulted in $67,000 of project for redesigning the publications there. So it worked out well. And the other thing, and I know Nancy talks about this a lot, when you have an internship, make sure that there's some final project or something that you can point to on your resume. put on your portfolio or whatever, some kind of project or website or paper, something like that. So make it work for you. Does anybody have questions or? Right, yeah. And that's true of all these connections. They're great for references. I know that I've, all these connections I've made over the years through the association work, through, all the networking. They serve as references. I also did a lot of applying for scholarships was really helpful to me. That was actually why I got involved in DCSLA to begin with. I joined because I applied for a DCSLA scholarship, and you had to be a member to join it, and then I got involved that way. So, yeah, so I won some awards. I did. I was big on writing those scholarship essays. So it works. It opens doors for students to do that. I think it's a really good thing to do. So.
I'm Katie Chan. I work at the National Library of Medicine, and I'm going to talk about the Pathways program, which is a federal it's a federal program for students and recent graduates. I came on board the National Library of Medicine this past October through the Pathways program. So how many of you here are potentially interested in getting a job at a federal library? Okay. How many of you graduated within the past 2 years or are a student? Okay, so still quite a few of you. If so, the Pathways program is a great option for you to get into the federal government without a lot of the bureaucracy and experience requirements that normally come with a federal position. So as I said, it's for students and grads. The student internship program is a 1 to 4 year term, and the grad program is a 1 year term. After that point, they can convert you non-competitively to a permanent federal position if you perform and they're happy with you. There's kind of. So my understanding is after like about 6 months, it's 120 days before my 1 year mark, they can convert me, but I do have to submit my resume and all that to reapply for the job, but it's not competitive, so nobody else will be competing with me for the permanent job. But of course there's paperwork. It's the government. We can't get away from it. So the sister program to the Pathways program is called the Presidential Management Fellows Program, and that is a leadership training program for recent grads. It's more competitive. I don't know as much about it because I'm not in it, but if you want to learn more about it, go to pmf.gov. That's pmf.gov, and you can learn more about that. And I think there have been some library positions through that as well. Yeah, so that's also a great program for recent grads to look into. As I said, the Pathways programs can convert to a permanent position after the term is over, depending on if it's an internship or a recent grad position. It's a really simple application process, much simpler than normal federal positions. For me, it was only like 3 questions. Have you graduated in the last 2 years? Are you a U.S. citizen? And I submitted my resume and my cover letter, and it was a pretty fast process. And job announcements can be promoted before the position actually opens, so you might want to join listservs to keep an ear to the ground to see if there are any announcements coming up before the actual announcements appear on USA Jobs. And it's important to apply right away and check the opening and closing dates for the jobs because they can be open as few as 5 days. So you really have to get your act together and apply as soon as you can once you find out about the jobs in general for USA jobs. So I'm on the web team at the National Library of Medicine. I've really enjoyed my job. It's been interesting. My supervisor has let me work on other projects in social media and even on YouTube and videos. It's full-time. It's a full-time position. It's got great benefits. It's part of the federal government, so it's all the same benefits. The Pathways program requires you to do 40 hours of training for your year. So that's kind of nice. It's a built-in training that you have to plan. You have to come up with goals and decide what skills you want to develop. You get a mentor that can kind of help acclimate you to the organization. We've since the National Library of Medicine actually brought 17 people on through the Pathways program, which is probably kind of unusual. I don't know of any other federal agencies that have done it at that level. But I have a nice cohort of newbies that I can network with, and we're all kind of in the same place at different stages in the Pathways conversion process. I have seen other Pathways announcements for the Securities and Exchange Commission Library, Uniformed Services University Library, and the National Agricultural Library. So there are other libraries hiring through the Pathways program. This is just a quick picture of the National Library of Medicine for some eye candy. So I decided to ask, since there was like a big cohort of recent hires, I decided to ask them what they would say, because I figure 17 heads are better than one. They really suggested signing up for alerts through USA Jobs. So you can stay on top of any announcements that come up. If you just Google how to sign up for alerts on USA Jobs, there's instructions about how to do that, so you can get email alerts. I would say in the interview process, make sure you explain your career goals, make your interests apparent, but on the flip side, don't pigeonhole yourself and make it like you're afraid of learning anything new. So keep an open mind, make sure that you convey that you're flexible and you're not afraid to learn new things. Network and join professional organizations. I think Katie Rapp really emphasized that and touched on that. One of the other recent hires mentioned that she joined like a job application study group, so even getting advice from your peers and holding your peers accountable and getting updates from them is not a bad idea either. Make sure you get experience and internships. Did you have a question? Or I'm interested in medical libraries, so I really like medlibs, but I'm sure based on whatever interest you have, there's probably a listserv out there for it. SLA listservs are great too. A listserv bibliography, yeah. You should be spending a lot of time tailoring your resume and cover letters for applications. So applying for a job is a big deal, and you should celebrate every time you do that. You know, it's an achievement, even though it might not feel like it and you might get down. But really, it is a big deal. So give yourself a pat on the back when you do that. The government has something called position classification standards. The librarians are in the 1400 series, so take a look at that and you can learn about the requirements for each classification series and what other series beyond just libraries you might be interested in. And that can help you also set up alerts, so you can set up alerts for announcements in that series. Yes. Right. Thank you. Yeah. So take a look at the other classifications and see what else might be a good fit that you might want to set up alerts for. Make sure you demonstrate your knowledge, and there's just a few other job websites I have listed here for job announcements. If you want to learn more about pathways, go to usajobs.gov/students and grads. The Association of Research Libraries put on a webinar this past November called We Want You about applying for federal jobs in general. So that had some really great advice if you're interested in general federal jobs, not just the pathways. I would highly recommend that, and you can listen to the recording online and check out their slides. And here's my contact information in case you have any questions about my experience or the Pathways program. Thank you.
I've hired several Pathways recent graduates,
Mm-hmm.
and we also put our Pathways recent graduates through rotational assignments, 4 to 6 weeks in different parts of the organization, and we have them shadow a senior level management person for a day. We also have reading requirements, both leadership reading, because we see these people as rising above the 9/11.
Right. That sounds like you guys really have it streamlined and set up there. Wow. Yes? I think it depends how many jobs that they have open. At NLM, I think there was about 300 applicants, and it ended up being 17 positions that they hired for. Yeah. Yeah, so that's why it's important to apply right away. Okay. All right. Thank you. If you're also, sorry. Again, if you're interested in working in a medical library, NLM also has the Associates program, which is kind of like a medical library training program where it's 1 year and an optional second year where they can work with you to put you in an institution that you're interested in. So if you're interested in that, let me know and I can put you in touch with the associate coordinator, Cathal Dunn, or if you Google NLM Associates Program, you can find their website and learn more about that. Yes, that's for if you've graduated within the last 2 years, you can apply. Or if you're still in your last year. Sorry, yes? I do. I really do. I know it sounds like cheesy, but my supervisor has been great. She's really worked with me to maximize my interest in my position.
I don't think it's cheesy at all. How many in this room feel the same way about their jobs? I think it's a wonderful profession. We're so glad that you're part of it.
Thank you.
So I was just going to mention that now would be the time that I'm going to be ending the webinar for our participants that are joining us online, and we're going to be breaking out. It's a nice time for a little break, and then you can reconvene in your different groups. But we haven't quite worked a way for how to route all of these resumes to the appropriate subject matter specialists quite yet. You can imagine with hundreds of resumes, and somebody might want to speak to 5 or 6 different types of reviewers. It's going to be a bit of a challenge. So bear with us, both candidates as well as reviewers, as we work through this process.